Hi, everybody, and welcome to Meet the Heads, Everything's Education's TV series on meeting heads in London and the UK and abroad. One of the reasons why I started this was because I wanted parents to have an opportunity to hear from schools, but hear from a real point of view and not what we see in just prospectuses and when we go for open days. So today I've got 4 schools who are coming to talk to us about the future of education, online learning, and edtech. But I also have an amazing co-host called Benjamin Smith, who many of you who've been to our Zoom calls will know him really, really well, in that he's our source of information when it comes to dropping those little things on how to deal with homeschooling and the rest. So Benjamin, welcome to our show tonight.
It's delightful to see you again, Elaine, and thank you very much for welcoming me here to this evening.
I'm glad. How's everything going where you are?
It's busy. I think that's fair to say. It's busy with the changes coming on, and hopefully back to school and welcoming and actually seeing the children in the classroom will be ideal in the next couple of days.
I know it's quite interesting because they are letting children go back to school on Monday, which I know is probably very, very exciting for the heads of the school and the school community and everything. But it's also quite worrying as a parent as well. And I'm here speaking as a parent and of course, I want children to go in as an educational consultant, but I also want them to be safe. So what kinds of things have you put in place to make sure that everything's safe, Mr. Smith?
Well, it's a number of different things. Obviously, following the guidance from the government, we're making sure we have the social distancing between rotations, carousels, things like that, small class sizes, and again, just being vigilant and sort of educating the children, reminding them as the build-up comes to coming back, reminding them to be prepared and to sort of manage that expectation of coming back, manage the expectation on both fronts, by parents and pupils.
Brilliant. Well, Ben, I know you love speaking and we will catch up soon. However, we have other schools to introduce tonight. So on the bill, we have Ellesmere College. Let me see, Ellesmere. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Elaine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. I'm just going to introduce the other schools. We have Taunton School. Oh, where's Taunton School? And we also have St. Edmunds. Hello, Camilla. How are you?
Hi,
Hello,
Elaine.
Camilla.
I'm well, thank you.
Good. Technology. Hi, Edward.
Good evening, Elaine, and thank you for having me. Looking forward to tonight.
I know. Thank
Hello,
you,
Edward.
I think we're still waiting for one school, but I'm sure when they manage to get on, and it's interesting we're talking about edtech and technology because sometimes technology works for us, sometimes it doesn't. So Edward, tell us about your school and why anybody would want to come to your school. What's so exciting about your school?
Sure. Well, yes, St. Edmunds is a really interesting school. We're a 3 to 18 through school. So we have a pre-prep and a nursery, and we go right the way through to sixth form. So we are located just on the edge of Canterbury, a beautiful historic city in the southeast of England. And we're a co-educational school, about 50-50 boys and girls. And we are a day and boarding school. So as I said, we're just outside Canterbury on a really fantastic spot. We're on a place called St. Thomas Hill, so we overlook the city. In fact, as I look out of my window now, I can see the floodlit cathedral. So we're very lucky with our location. And it's an interesting place. If you have a look on our website, you'll see quite an eclectic mix of historic and modern buildings. We're in about 65 acres of parkland. All our facilities are on one site. So great location, great facilities. But what we're really about is obviously the pupils, and we're a small school. We have about 600 pupils in total, and of that community of 600, there's about 140 borders, and I'll come back to them in a second. We also educate the choristers from Canterbury Cathedral too. So I suppose our true USP, the thing that makes us really unique, is that we're the choir school for Canterbury Cathedral. The school's been around for a long time. It's about 271 years old. It was founded back in the late 1740s as a school for orphans, as a church charity for orphans. And I mention that for a couple of reasons. I mean, we're very proud of our history, but also I think it gives you a clue as to our ethos, our DNA as a school, if you like, that we are very much a pupil-centric school, and our approach is based on seeking to understand the strengths and weaknesses of individual pupils, and then as far as is possible, adapting our provision to support their needs, to develop their strengths, and to enable them to meet their ambitions. So to achieve that, we have a holistic approach to education. Obviously, academic rigor is a key part of that, and we do very well academically. Our results are there in the public domain on the website if any of your audience would like to see them. But we feel the development of personal qualities, leadership, communications, team skills, collaborative working, some of the things I suspect we may come back to in our conversation this evening, are just as important in terms of preparing our young people to go out into the world and be successful. In terms of the strengths of the school, I think if you spoke to people that know us, they would say that St Edmunds has a really strong reputation for pastoral care. And as I said, that's kind of the root of what we're about. But also we have a really outstanding reputation in the creative arts, particularly music and drama. As I speak, we've got 6 students in the final stages of recalls for some of the leading drama schools in the country, including RADA,
Wow.
Bristol Old Vic, which in a small school, that's quite an achievement, I think. And similarly, I think we're growing in our strength in sport and the humanities. And in terms of our kind of Oxbridge and Russell Group University performance, it's probably the humanities and the creative arts, or perhaps I should say the creative industries, again, bearing in mind tonight's conversation. That's where we're particularly strong, I would say. So in summary, a small, friendly, but ambitious school. We're kind of very conscious of our past and very proud of it, but also forward-looking, but above all, pupil-centric.
Thank you so much, Edward. A small, friendly, loving school. I mean, that you can ask for anything better, and that's really important. And I know Edward very well, and he will definitely make sure that your child completely thrives in the school. Now, Mr. Smith, tell me, I will be coming to Brendan in just a moment. Tell me what your thoughts are in finding the right school for your child. How relevant is it to make sure that your child thrives?
It's hugely so, and I think with all of it, we're looking at a sort of a setup now where it's value for money. What stands out by a unique school? And you've just heard Edward there talk about St Edmunds, a wonderful school, location there, unique location, a great setting within the city of Canterbury. But also, I think we should be looking at as well with the school is the caliber of what's on offer for the child, the extracurricular, the focal point, obviously the academics is what we're looking for, but also the extended classroom, the different activity programs that are available for the children to really build their CV and to let them stand out as they go forward into further and higher education. So for me, that extension to the classroom is quite important, and having a look at the different activity programs that are there to really help give a rounded education, academics, and that wraparound care of the activity programs.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. So, Brendan, tell us about Ellesmere, because I had looked at Ellesmere when my son was going to Shrewsbury School, and I understood that Ellesmere was more of a football school. And I know there are lots of parents out there who'd be 100% interested. So tell us about who you are and what you offer.
Okay, Elaine, well, I should start by saying you're talking to one of the luckiest people in the world, because I adore my job. This is a brilliant place. I've been headmaster at Ellesmere for 25 years. Obviously, I was about 15 when I was appointed, and I was once the youngest headmaster of a major public school. I'm now the longest lasting because I love my job. And my claim is that Ellesmere is a very special and unique place. And the reason for not accepting any of the approaches that I've had has been because it wouldn't be Ellesmere. And I think one of the key words about Ellesmere is diversity, not necessarily in a trendy sense, but in a genuine sense. So we're a 7 to 18 co-ed boarding and day school in North Shropshire. Shropshire is an unknown county, but it's a very, very beautiful county. Rural location. We're 168 acres. We have a 9-hole golf course. We're very lucky. 500 pupils. So again, a small school like St Edmunds. And really, when I talk about diversity, I mean so many things. In terms of nationalities, we have 20% of our population is international, which I think is fairly normal for the sector. But that's from 33 different countries, which I think is quite unusual. So it's genuinely international. We offer the IB, of course, and A-levels and BTEC Sport. And next year, we're offering the University of London Foundation Programme. And we were the first independent school to offer that. So there's a diversity of curriculum. And the diversity of curriculum is very important because we're absolutely committed to a diversity of abilities. Lots of independent schools seek to be academically selective. We don't. We don't want to be. We will accept pupils if we can help them, and we won't accept them if we can't. We have, it's a big claim, but fantastic dyslexia provision. I am chair of a national dyslexia charity. Ellesmere was the first independent school in the UK to set up for dyslexia provision in 1963. We had somebody 2 years ago got 45 points in the IB. The academic range is very wide because our view is that we are here to serve the pupils that we get, not choose the pupils that we get so that we'll look good. And our attitude is I hope warm, I hope it's very warm, but it is very clear. The person who got 45 points in the IB, that's not success. That's a good start. And if we look at the other things, sport, for example, and you mentioned football, our range of sports is very diverse. I think it is fair to say we're the #1 swimming school in the country. We're currently running as #1 rifle shooting school. We're top 5 tennis, top 5 golf. And in the last 3 years, we've had 8 or 9 different sports where we've had national selection or international selection. And American sports scholarships for universities there are very attractive because American universities are very expensive. And I know because my daughter went there for her master's. But it's not just sports. In arts, we are an Arts Mark Platinum school, which is a fairly rare accolade from the Arts Council. And pupils develop their talents at all levels. We've certainly had people going into professional acting. I mentioned my daughter, she's back from Hollywood at the moment, but she began making films at Ellesmere, and her first written film appeared on Hulu TV in America just before lockdown, and that all started at Ellesmere. And one thing that I particularly like, going back to diversity at Ellesmere, is the diversity of families. Obviously, independent schools are fee paying. So we have rich parents. The Duke of Westminster, who's quite a rich chap, was in my daughter's year. His father sent him to Ellesmere. But we have people who are being funded by charities, or in some cases by the school charity, and everybody gets along together. But the main emphasis at Ellesmere is very much on that preparation for life thing, even to the extent that we say that if somebody only wants to study, we don't want them to come to Ellesmere because we know that that isn't a successful approach to life. And Ben mentioned choosing schools for children. That's absolutely vital. And I think my view is that we suit the vast majority of children. We don't suit quite so many parents because some parents wouldn't agree with our philosophy. And in that case, they need to find a school with the right philosophy because ours is pretty inflexible in terms of that total human development. And of course, we're terribly human, so we make mistakes, but I've yet to meet a perfect parent. I'm hoping I will one day, but we'll see.
Thank you so much. I love. Oh, we have Bishop Stortford in the house. I am coming to you in just a moment, but I love the fact that now I think education is about being real. It's about being real, and it's about preparing children for the future. It's no longer about just getting results. It's about, do you have the grit and resilience to survive what life throws at you, and can you go into this workplace and do what you want to do? Because this past year is a prime example of those people who've been able to survive and those people who've just crumbled. It didn't matter whether you had the right results or not. It's whether you had the grit and the resilience to be able to navigate the system. So I will come to you, Bishop Stortford. Thank you so much for coming. Now, Camilla, we've had Taunton on before. We love a little bit of Taunton. But do tell us again about Taunton.
Okay. So just to kind of make it clear, I'm head of Taunton School International, which is part of Taunton Schools. So Taunton School is kind of 5 schools in one. We go from nursery right through to sixth form. But within Taunton School, we obviously have the prep school and the senior school. We have the 2 international, only 100% international schools. And those 2 schools are a middle school for children about the year sort of age 7 up to about 14. And then we have Taunton School International, which I'm head of. And that is for students who can start with us in year 10, studying on a 2-year GCSE programme. We also have year 11, where we do our 1-year GCSE programme. And we have literally just started this year. We've just started an international foundation year, a business international foundation year. And we are affiliated with NC UK, which is a Northern Consortium for universities. And this is exclusively for international students. Really popular course, it's going really well. And I'm really pleased that we have branched out and we now have sixth form age students in Taunton School International. So obviously Mr. Glazer is head of Taunton School, so he will be able to talk about the senior school in great detail. I can touch on some of the fantastic things that Taunton School has. We are in Somerset, in the southwest of England. It's absolutely beautiful. It's great weather. It is. So we've had good weather. We do have good weather. We're actually in Taunton itself, but we are on the edge of Taunton, and we're very close to a beautiful national park called the Quantocks. Which is also very close to the sea. So we have a really lovely kind of flavour, a mix of everything, where the students can obviously go into town, but they also have a huge opportunity to do outdoor pursuits, you know, in terms of, you know, walking and horse riding and everything that the countryside offers. We have about 1,200 students overall in the whole of the Taunton School. But we are we're very friendly. We treat each individual student as an individual, just like what everyone else has been saying. You know, the most important thing is producing a well-rounded individual who is prepared to go into whatever avenue they choose to when they obviously leave Taunton School. We offer a range of courses. I've touched on the courses that we do at Taunton School International, but at Taunton School we also offer IB, we offer BTEC, both in sports science and in business, and we offer A-level as well. The International Middle School focuses very much on English as an additional language, as a foreign language, but we also teach all the core subjects of the curriculum of students of that age, but they have an extra English boost to help them. So we don't, for the middle school, they don't have to come in at any particular English level. So they can join in at a very, very basic level, and with the additional English support with our fantastic teachers we have, it gets them up to speed and then prepares them for either going into Taunton School, or if they choose another school in the UK or indeed anywhere in the world, an English speaking school, that they are ready and prepared for that. We also have a summer school, So we run a summer school for international students, and we also have a sort of a pre-sessional course on that as well, where we offer a course for pre-GCSE, pre-A-level, pre-IB. And talking about, I know we've been talking about clubs and activities, how important it is to offer, a range of opportunities for the young people that come through our schools. We have over 100 clubs and activities. And the fantastic thing about Taunton, and in particular about the international school, is that we have fantastic facilities, sports facilities. We are a very sporty school, and obviously all the international students are fully integrated into all that's on offer at Taunton School in terms of clubs, activities, sports, etc. It's non-selective. The whole school is non-selective. So again, we're not precious with who comes through our doors, and we very much help every individual flourish and become who they get their potential, and and really see them improve and grow as the fantastic people that they are.
Perfect.
So yes.
So I will come back to you. Don't worry. I know you've got a lot to say, honey, but it's okay. I will come back to you. Don't worry. Cathy, thank you so much for that eloquence. Cathy, please tell us about you. I know I met you recently, and you were absolutely delightful. Now, please tell us about you and the school. I know a lot of parents may not have heard of your school, but that's why you're here. So tell us, please.
Well, thanks very much for inviting me this evening, and I'm delighted to meet all of you. I'm Cathy Crewe, and I'm head of Bishop Stortford College. Brendan just told you that it was an extraordinary privilege to be head of Ellesmere. It's actually an extraordinary privilege to be playing a leading role in the futures of the young people of our world, I think. And, in that respect, we're all really, really lucky. I joined Bishop Stortford College just last September. It's my second headship. I've previously been head at a school near Birmingham. The college is midway between London and Cambridge, half an hour from each of them. And our site's about 130 acres on the edge of a beautiful rural market town. We're about 10 minutes from Stansted, London Stansted Airport, and half an hour from Heathrow. So we've got a fantastic site and situation. We're an all-through school. We have boys and girls from the age of 4 to 18, 1,200 pupils in all, about 10% of which are boarders from around 20 countries. Boarding starts with us from the age of 7. That the boarders and day pupils are cared for in houses, which is a pastoral structure that creates really strong family-type relationships between the pupils. The older pupils support the younger pupils, which is really, really life-affirming. And so the culture in the houses is courteous and kind. And the house structure enables us to ensure that each individual is known and valued and nurtured in our community. We are really academically selective, and our exam results in university destination data reflect this. The type of pupils who thrive at our school are happy, clever children. The teaching is absolutely brilliant, and before lockdown I had some amazing times going into and out of lessons and just seeing really high caliber delivery of teaching and well motivated pupils learning, and the culture of giving your all to everything that you do means that results here are excellent. I guess the characteristic of our students is that they're happy, inspired and energized, and they leave us with confidence for life. It's an absolutely lovely place, and I don't want to overtalk, but I'd be happy to chat to anyone who wants to contact the school and tell them more about what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been getting quite a lot of texts in while we've been on air, live on Facebook and live on YouTube, and also live on some Ghanaian stations as well. And somebody did say that you're very cute, Cathy. So I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not sure my own children would agree.
So I think that we're going to have a little round table now, and we're going to have a discussion. And Cathy said something about before lockdown, she was able to go into certain classrooms. And I know the challenge. I mean, I hear it almost every day. I go on different social media platforms, and my favorite at the moment is Clubhouse. I don't know how many of you are on there at the moment, but there's a lot of parents saying that they hate homeschooling, they hate online learning. But I believe that this type of tech, edtech, is the way of the future, and maybe a hybrid model. Now, I think what I want to ask all of you is, how have you coped with the online provision? Was it easy at first? Was it hard? Did you get your groove on? Did you make mistakes, learn some new things? So I think I'm going to pose that first question to Brendan. Brendan, how did you find online learning initially, and what are your thoughts behind online learning?
Well, I'm afraid, in a sense, the initial answer is boring, because it was pretty seamless. We were up and online learning very quickly, and it worked well. We checked with parents that it was working well, which isn't to say that parents don't want their children in school, but they appreciated how well they were learning. And obviously, the second time around, it's gone really well again. And I think one of the things that people keep saying about COVID is that it's not necessarily changing things, but accelerating things. And it's undoubtedly the case that COVID has accelerated all of us, I think, with regard to using technology. It is part of the future, but we are talking about learning, and learning is only part of education. And I think that certainly during the second lockdown, more and more people have become aware that if you're in one of the mostly independent schools, or particularly independent schools that have good online learning, that's great, and it's getting you through. But particularly for a school like mine, but I think for schools in general, the absence of the social, sporting, cultural activities, they're part of education too. For us, they're an enormous part. It can't be overstated, but for all children they are. And I think sometimes with new technology, I know, because I can remember Geronimo Scorciafico, who's not a name you hear every day, is an Italian who objected to the printing press because it was going to transform the world. And it did, but not in the way that he said it was going to. And if technology was going to replace us all, then the book would have done that. But it augments what we do. And I think that when we get back to normal, hopefully from Monday, the quality of teaching will have improved, actually, because teachers are much more tech savvy. And certainly it's no longer going to be acceptable for a teacher to say, oh, I'm not very good at technology. It'd be a bit like saying I'm not very good at communicating with pupils.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree with you. It is no longer acceptable for a teacher to say I'm not good at technology, because you won't be able to survive. Edward, how did you manage? How did your school manage? And what are your thoughts on, because I want us to have an open discussion about online, because I know it's been a bane from the beginning with a lot of head teachers, and there's been lots of changes. And then I'm sure there's been lots of Zoom calls saying, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We're opening now. But even when you do open on Monday, it's not going to be a completely full school, is it? Because you've got students who haven't been able to come back, and students who live in London, and I can use my children as an example, who won't be coming back, but they'll come back for the summer term because of various other things. But it is quite difficult. So tell us, Edward, what you think about it and how you've been able to manage it.
Sure, I absolutely agree, first of all, with Brendan's point that the last year of remote learning has been an extraordinary catalyst in terms of developing student and teacher skill bases in ICT. I think our experience at St Edmunds has been a pretty positive one on the whole. We've used a variety of different platforms, so we delivered online lessons through Teams. We used a facility called My School Portal, which kind of empowered parents to kind of monitor the work that was being set and so on. And we've even run virtual parent evenings through something called School Cloud. I think for me, the challenges with online learning, and I do sympathise and empathise with parents, particularly parents of younger children who've been trying to manage working from home and also looking after their the home learning of their sons and daughters. I do empathise with that. I think the things that we've done well were, first of all, communication. I think it was really important early on that we set out our stall to parents and explained to them exactly what they could expect, exactly what our provision would consist of, and also the kind of key lines of communication at the school. If they had a technical problem, they would contact our IT department and so on. So I think setting up that kind of communication system was really important. And I think a kind of natural corollary of that was that we used questionnaire strategies to see if the provision that we were providing was actually effective, across the whole school, parents, pupils and teachers, and then used their feedback to refine, for example, the number and the timing of live lessons during the week. So I think that they're things that we got right. I think that the real challenge and what worries me, and I think it is an issue that connects absolutely to the heart of education technology and its kind of pros and cons for the future, is the pastoral care and the well-being of pupils during this period. Some of them have responded really well. Some of them like being empowered to kind of take control of their own learning, work at their own pace, and that's been interesting. Others have found it very difficult to be isolated socially and deprived of the kind of social education that they get from being in a class, learning from their friends, observing others, and so on. So that's something that we've tried really hard to address with regular conversations, regular assemblies, contact with our pastoral team and safeguarding team where necessary, to make sure that the pupils feel supported and they don't feel isolated. But I think that challenge of balancing the amazing potential of education technology with the well-being and the pastoral care and the kind of developing the essential humanity of young people is the real challenge. So I would say broadly it's been successful, and I'm really proud of our teachers and pupils and parents for what they've done. But it brings with it its own set of problems, I would say, and I'm sure we'll get into that later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I will hand over to my co-host, Ben.
Hello there. Hi, thanks, Elaine. Camilla and Cathy, I'll start with Camilla. Thanks very much for coming along this evening. I've seen a lot of your literature at Taunton. It's very interesting, very exciting to actually, you've been very forward thinking in how you're educating parents, keeping them up to date with the online learning process. But as Brendan has mentioned and Edward have just mentioned there, we're just about to engage this process, almost a hybrid model. And with your school being national school, you've got a lot of boarders abroad, but you're also going to have the boarders you've got in school at the moment and the day pupils coming back. How are you going to sort of manage the hybrid learning model now of the online part and the face-to-face?
Well, it's not easy. But actually, we have been teaching hybrid lessons since September because some of our international boarders didn't come back for various reasons. So in terms of hybrid lessons, it's not a completely new game for us. I think the most important thing for us is making sure that all the teachers have all the tech they need. Obviously, we've got all our systems set up in terms of we use Teams, and we also use a VLE called Firefly, which runs as a kind of a learning resource and learning platform, runs alongside it. So it's making sure that the staff that come back on Monday are confident, trained, they've got all the tech, they're ready to go with their hybrid lessons, having been away from school obviously for quite some weeks now, and sort of hit the ground running, and hopefully it will go seamlessly. Certainly from September, when we started our hybrid lessons, it was very seamless. And the students responded really well. It does, of course, it has its hitches, it has its glitches, but the most important thing, I think, managing a team of teachers as I do, is making sure that they are, confident and comfortable with what they're doing, and that they feel that they are supported both in terms of tech, with our fantastic IT department, but also, with anything else in terms of, welfare, well-being, absence, anything like that is sort of extra to teaching them in the classroom, which you do get when you're teaching hybrid lessons. It's really important, I think, to make sure that they feel fully supported and they are fully prepared. So yes, I mean, that's, it's not new for us, but obviously it's the second stage of hybrid lessons.
Wonderful, thank you very much. And Cathy, I believe we've got you back now. We lost you, but now you're back with us. And just building on, Cathy, building on to what Brendan was saying there with regards to the sport and with the distance learning side of things, being a sportsman myself, you miss that side of life of what a school is about, bringing the house competitions together and that feel. How do you think things will change for you, or have you managed to address that, having sort of the house sing-alongs? Have you managed to bring those onto online as well?
Yes, and music, sport, high intensity workouts, etc. I think all of us have done our best in that respect. I mean, I think the future is very interesting with respect to edtech, because I think the future for our young people when they're adults is digital. And we need to prepare them for that. My daughter's third year at university doing dentistry. She hasn't picked up a pen in the first 3 years yet, because everything they do is digital. And I do think that we're preparing our young people for a digital future. And in that respect, working remotely during lockdown was an interesting experience. We need to embrace the best of all of that and take it forwards. And I think that a lot of what we're going to be doing at schools in the future is working out what it is that's uniquely human about us, that sets us apart from the digital world, and making sure that we teach skills in those areas too. So you're right, sports absolutely going to be one of those things, and music and all sorts of creative arts, but also empathy. And learning how to appreciate and listen to each other, and to show emotion in a sensible way. I think the curriculum is going to change over the next 10 or 15 years significantly, and that makes it a really, really exciting time to be in education.
Wonderful, thank you very much. And I know that a few of you are running sort of the BTEC programs, and the balancing that unique aspect of the written work alongside the practical side of things. Again, it gives the children those different pathways, those different career paths to go. But it does build on the interpersonal skills that children miss, being within the classroom, being within the corridor, interacting with staff on a personal face-to-face level. Do we think that EdTech will ever replace the need for that? That's to Edward, sorry, to Edward.
No,
Edward, can you hear us? Hi, sorry.
I think Brendan made the point earlier that it's not just about learning; it's education. And one of the things that I suppose is a worry for me with the development of technology and the amazing speed of the development of computational power, for example, is the kind of loss of humanity. There was an excellent documentary on recently, which was about some of the biggest, without mentioning any names, of some of the biggest online companies, and the way that they use artificial intelligence to profile customers and feed certain certain products at particular clients. And I worry about the kind of the juxtaposition of a human brain that hasn't evolved particularly over the last 20,000 years or so, with these extraordinarily powerful artificial intelligences on the other end. And I worry about the loss of human contact, humanity. And I think it's interesting if you look at some of the data relating to mental health during the lockdown and the remote learning period. There has been pretty significant increase in mental health issues, particularly anxiety and other related situations, because I think largely because of the lack of human contact. Cathy used the word empathy, and I think that's a really important skill that teachers and pastoral carers bring to their relationships with pupils, that understanding of the uniqueness of the individual. And I'm not sure an artificial intelligence, however clever, can replace that.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Elaine, back to you. I believe, Elaine, you're muted still, I'm afraid.
Oh, sorry. I think that's the phrase of the last year. You're a mute. You're a mute. You're a mute. So there's been a couple of inquiries actually whilst we were online speaking. For you actually, Cathy. One of the first question is, what's the entry criteria for year 9 and have they missed the deadline?
We have our own entrance exams, and we have a waiting list currently for year 9 for starting in September. So if you contact the school, they'll be happy to give you more details.
Absolutely, thank you. And for every one of the schools here, is it too late to apply? I've had a couple of people request that they are looking for a school for September 2021. Is it too late to apply? Everybody says no, it isn't. So go ahead and apply. If you've got any problems, just get in touch with Everything's Education. We'll point you in the right direction. I think my next question is this hybrid model about EdTech. And do you think at some time, yes, we've got the vaccine, yes, we've got everything going, but for this year in particular, we literally only have a little bit of this term, Easter holidays, and then the summer term, which goes past really quickly. I'm sure you'll be very happy that you might even be able to have a prize giving with everybody in one place as opposed to on the screen. So I think my question to you is, do you think that there is going to be an element of EdTech in schools? I know that we all say that we are techie, but the traditional way of schools, and this has almost fast-tracked what we knew was inevitable, but it's fast-tracked it. And so what are the things that you believe are needed to make sure that there's a smooth transition and it's not a sort of, okay, we've done that now, let's put it away, let's go back to what we were doing before? Because I don't think what we were doing before is actually going to work. I'm going to pose that question to Camilla first, then to Cathy, then to Edward, then to Brendan.
So definitely not. No, we're not going to phase it out. It's going to be very much part of what we do going forwards. In fact, it's one of our key areas to focus on at the moment is digital strategy. I'm on that group, and we're looking at how we are going to incorporate EdTech, online learning, hybrid learning, whatever, in whichever form you want to look at it, moving forwards. I think it gives flexibility, actually. I think certainly for my school, in terms of, not everyone can arrive on the 6th of September, day 1 of school. Before it was, difficult to get those students involved from day 1, get them to settle in. And when they arrived late, it was having to do a late induction and a certain amount of anxiety coming into a school late, where possibly friendship groups have already been formed, and things have kind of settled in, and someone comes in new and it's all a bit scary. And I think that is going to be very different now, because I think we can involve students right from word go. If they can't arrive on time, for whatever reason it is, they will be able to join remotely and settle in, albeit online. And I also think things like, we have a one-to-one tutorial system, and they have tutorials every 2 weeks. And certainly those tutorials can now take place online, which means that it gives flexibility for the tutor and the student to be able to meet at a time when is needed, rather than a specific time, Tuesday at 3:45 every couple of weeks. I think, I think there will be a lot of barriers that are broken down, that the timetable possibly has restricted before, which is really exciting, I think. So yes, that's my view on it. You're on mute, Elaine.
Oh. You said something that was really interesting, and because I've got a child who started in a new school in January, has never been to the school, and won't go to the school until the beginning of the summer term, which is slightly strange. However, he said to me yesterday, I'm not the only one, Mummy. There's about 6 other boys in my year who couldn't make it down, and so we've formed a little group. And so what, after you've answered this, does that affect the way the community is built? Are there people who've got one shared experience and others who don't have an experience? I
mean, I certainly, from what's happened this year, and okay, this year is very extraordinary, and hopefully next year is going to be more normal. I don't think there has been,
that horrible phrase.
New normal, exactly. I don't think there has been, because we've had students coming and going for different reasons, and because they've been online, and we've had some students that have been online since September, and arrived in January, and they've kind of got their friendship groups, and they know all the staff, they know the school. They've had an opportunity to join chapel, they've had an opportunity to be in assembly every week, they've had an opportunity to have tutorials, as I was talking about, do all the activities, online activities, and everything that we offer online, as do all the other schools that are here today. But I think it's that inclusivity, being online, and the relationships that have been built online, which are special, which are individual. And I don't think there are barriers. Certainly from my experience from this year, there haven't been barriers with students coming into school at different times of the school year.
Thank you. Handing over to Mr. Smith. Sorry, Cathy, if you could answer the first question that I asked.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think that I've said something in terms of where I hope that our school are going to go with respect to digital technology going forwards. And we have to remember that our children, the children in our schools, are digital natives, that they can do it. They speak this language. And I think that as leaders, we need to work out what technology offers that's new and better, and what's better without tech. And I've alluded a little bit to that. And then also there are a couple of other areas. One is that with technology brings the need to teach other skills, such as evaluating what you do and why you're doing it, and whether or not what you're seeing is true and good. And then I guess the other area, which is that schools these days, for the sake of the children in them, need to try and sensibly keep abreast of new technological developments, and keep evaluating what should be developed and adopted in the curriculum, and what shouldn't. So again, really, really exciting times ahead for education, and even more exciting times ahead for the children in our schools, whose world, I think, because of the digital technology and artificial intelligence, is going to be vastly different from ours in many ways.
Thank you, Cathy, coming in. And Brendan, please come in with the point that Elaine was making there with regards to the changes here. What's your take on that?
Well, I think much of what Camilla said in particular, I think, is absolutely right. And yeah, we're going to embed a lot of stuff, and the opportunities to integrate people who are absent from school for illness sometimes, but they're not too ill to study from home, which probably may not come as good news to them. But I think that the hybrid model has that attraction. I mean, the big thing for us, and this might sound counterintuitive given what I've said about learning versus education, is that clearly there's a demand for learning, And one of the things that we're going to be doing from next year, I think we're going to be amongst the first in the world, is the University of London International Foundation Programme, which is typically 1 year, can be 2, but is you're on to university after that. And it's not just the University of London, it's a number of Russell groups. And we're going to be doing that mostly online and delivering it online globally. At the moment, there is a residential requirement, so we'll have people coming over to Ellesmere for part of the time. But we're in discussions with the University of London about possibly being the first completely online course. And that's a major step forward. But I think we're quite clear that that's satisfying a demand. It's not necessarily education in the way that we're talking about it, but that is a fairly radical departure in terms of learning.
Yeah, I think you're right. It is, isn't it? And for me, do you think opportunities for schools to have that extension to the school day, so you could have evening schools? Is that something that your school is possibly looking at adopting or bringing in? Edward?
Absolutely.
Edward, can you hear me? Sorry, Edward, I do apologise.
Sorry, I missed that.
I think there's a big lag. I'm so sorry. I think there's a big lag on the signal to you. We're just asking, I think you heard, looking at the possibility of extension to the school day and the benefits of the online or the hybrid model, allowing that, building on what Brendan has said with the courses he's proposing to run, building on that extension. Is that something that you at St Edmunds have thought about or are contemplating?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what's been said. I think that the remote learning experience, all schools will embed certain practices and skills that they've learned and developed during this. I mean, in answer to your point about extending the school day, I think one of the really positive things that's come out of this experience has been a greater understanding of the potential for flipped learning approaches. So rather than the traditional model of a teacher imparting knowledge and then students going away and writing essays about it, that it's flipped, that some of these new edtech apps, and we use something here called GCSE Pod, for example, facilitate the opposite approach, a flipped learning approach, where students can absorb the content themselves in their own time after school, develop the knowledge and the understanding that teachers can then help them apply in the lesson. So I think that's certainly something that we've been looking at for a while here, and I think the remote learning experience in the last 12 months has accelerated that, certainly.
Wonderful. And I think going to you, Cathy, as well, just building on that aspect there of what Brendan is saying and what Edward is saying about those different opportunities that online learning has given. You mentioned a lot about the pastoral care side of things and the importance of that aspect of life at school is so central to everything that we do here. Do you think there's an aspect of building what Camilla, rewriting the timetable aspect and having those drop-in sessions? Do you think that's a model that possibly you will look to have at Bishop Stortford?
Sorry, Benjamin, I didn't catch that. I think it's my Wi-Fi. Apologies.
I do apologize. So, I was just to sum up, just talking about with Brendan there, building with the extension to the day. Edward came in as well. I mentioned something about the pastoral system and rewriting the timetable, having different slots for teachers to meet with pupils on that pastoral care part. And given that pastoral care is something that with all of us at the schools we're at is sort of central to everything that we do, do you feel that at Bishop Stortford you will be able to have that extension of or that flexibility to put more pastoral care within support programs of support to the children?
Yeah, I mean, we already do that throughout the taught curriculum. We've got pastoral care slots with tutors and house staff, and of course the house structure means that our students, when they're not in lessons, are back in their pastoral familial unit. So yeah, we do it currently, and we're absolutely going to stick with that because I think it's fundamental to looking after the children and nurturing them as they deserve.
Excellent. And Elaine, looking at rounding up here, is that anything you would like to bring in?
You know what? I think that obviously I'm not a head teacher. I'm just a parent. But I think that as challenging as edtech, and edtech can be so many areas of school life, because even maybe the way that school dinners are served is a part of technology. It might be slightly different, and we might do away with the school dinner lady, which is such a shame, but it might go that way. And I'm just a parent, but as annoying as sometimes online learning can be, and you having to sort of navigate what's going on, and we applaud all teachers everywhere for the work that they put in, because goodness gracious me, I'm sure, I mean, this is the longest that I've been with my children for like a whole year, and I'm literally like, oh my gosh, are we still here? But I think that all of us, like a triangle, parents, teachers, students, have to embrace this kind of new way of learning and see that it might come up again. What if something else comes up and we're here again? How can we better improve the experience? I think that's what I'm trying to say, because it was a difficult one, you know, because I just literally landed, and then the next day one child came home, the next day another child came home, and then I was like, okay, so what do we do? It was very bizarre. And also trying to keep on top of school timetables. I don't know how you guys all do it at your end, but it was like, I turned literally one part of my house was just like school timetables. And then my children were telling me the times that they wanted to eat. And I thought that was bizarre. We don't do that here. But they've become so used to when they're in school, there's a time they eat, there's a time they have tea, and the rest of it. But I want to just thank all of you. But there's a couple of questions before we go. I know we've got 4 minutes, but there are a couple of questions. Now, someone said, and anybody can pick this question up, that I have a 12-year-old and a 13-year-old who's going to be 14 next month. Is it too late for them to apply for September 2021? Any of the schools?
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Thank you. So I think that was Beatrice. You can get in touch with us and we will put you in touch with all of the schools so that you can have, I was going to say something about the digitization of education now, in that it's been easier to have an open day. I'm sure you could do about 3 or 4 in a day now, rather than one big experience. You can be in Australia 1 minute and England the next minute, and you can be in Asia another minute. But I think that, although I am a very big fan of coming to see the school yourself, because I believe that every school has got a spirit, and you feel it's like buying a house. You feel whether you're part of that school or not the moment you get there. Unfortunately, now we have to see whether we can feel the spirits through the senior leadership team. You know, because they carry the spirit of the school, really, don't they? And another question is, actually, Bishop Stortford, you've had 3 parents who are very interested in applying to you, so I'm sure Amy will be on the board tomorrow. And then another parent said that, is it too late to apply for scholarships or bursaries? No.
It depends what year group. We have waiting lists in some year groups and we have spaces in others, so just contact the school.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank my co-host, Benjamin Smith, even though his internet access was a bit dodgy. I would like to thank you so much for taking out the time and being here. I'd love to thank Brendan, Camilla, Edward, Cathy, and I know I'm going to be speaking to you again very, very soon. Thank you all so much for coming to Meet the Heads, brought to you by Everything's Education. And for any parent out there who wants to get in touch, wants to get their child in any one of these amazing schools, get in touch with us. hello@everythingseducation.com. And also remember that we are doing Saturday schools and getting you ready to get into these schools. So get in touch with us as well. Have a great evening from Elaine Cunningham-Walker and the Everything's Education team.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.